Hello everyone, Salvonani Dumelang. Today's video is going to be a very interesting one. I have Miss Michelle Lynette with me.
Hello everybody.
Please tell us more about yourself.
Hello, my name is Michelle Lynette. I am a hairstylist and educator and also speaker. How are you guys doing?
I'm just really curious to find out from an African American how they feel about the terminology, you know, when Africans from the continent, born in Africa, raised in Africa, travel to the United States of America, and then they may use the terminology, they are African American, like I am African American. You know, how does that sit with an African American from the United States, grew up, born, generations after generations, previously to them were born in the United States. So how do they feel when they hear this? What are the different opinions out there about this topic? That's what we're talking about today. I am going to ask Miss Michelle Lynette to tell us all her opinions because we want to know about this. We really want to know. I want to know. I don't know about you, but I want to know.
What's the question?
The question is, if I am born and raised in Africa and I have traveled to the United States, can I still call myself an African American?
No, I'm gonna say no. The reason why is because you're not an African American. You're from Africa. You know, you were born in Africa. You're just traveling to the U.S. Therefore, although you're African, you're not an African American. You're still an African native that's from Africa in America versus I was born, I am an African American. So I'm going to say me, I was born and raised in the United States as a African American. No, I never been to Africa, but I am of African descent with other things mixed in between. Right. So from you saying that you are an African in America, you can pinpoint exactly where you come from in Africa, what tribe you come from, where your family, you know, originated from, all of those different historical things. As of me, I cannot pinpoint that. You know, that's.
Did you hear that?
We can both do our like 23andMe, you know, all those things and figure out where exactly we're from. But if I was to do it, I feel like for me it'll be more of a general, broad kind of like just a area within Africa, versus from you know more in detail where your family ties come from. And for me, I don't necessarily know that because it happened so long ago. That particular stage in history had to happen in order for me to be created. In other words, if that was to have never happened, in other words, slavery, you would still be created. Like your family rituals and dynamics and roots and everything will still be created. Your family lineage will be there even if that never happened. Meanwhile, me, it took your family lineage to be created and all that good stuff, then for that historical event to happen, for me to be created, you know. So no, I feel like an African cannot call themselves an African American. Not at all.
Not at all. Those are the opinions on the streets. Not at all.
Not at all. And it doesn't mean, like, I don't mean to be negative or discouraging somebody to want to connect on the American side. I just feel like no, it wouldn't, because if I was to say, oh yeah, I'm an African, oh, where in Africa are you from? Where do you come from? Because I just can't say I'm an African because where am I?
I see what you're saying.
Am I where? What type of African am I? So it's those details that I would clearly miss, and then so on and so forth. You say you are African American, but you don't have those American ways. I can say that I wanted to be an African, but I don't have those African ways. So we're still missing those key points that defined our culture.
Right. And I think the most important thing to take away from this is the terminology, or should I say the two words put together, has been created in a way that it has its own systematic concepts behind it. and a reason for why it even existed in the first place. So to be from the continent, having all the background that you have from the continent, and then coming to the United States and then taking the exact same title, it's not equivalent. No. Now, my opinion for saying it is really because African American is associated with an experience. So it's not just words thrown out there that I can just use as I please. A group of people or a situation has happened and someone coined that word. Right. Whether that person is white, whether that person is black, it really doesn't correspond with my experience. So that's very important for us as Africans that were born in the continent to be very, very clear on that. Yes, I totally agree, and I'm sure you would agree too, that we as a community, wherever we go, they just see an African face. Right. Period. Right. That's all they see, and that's why we're all treated the way that we get treated by others. But that does not take away that terminology being coined for something specific, you know.
And I can use an example too, like a great example to compare that to is like when we look at Hispanics, you know. You have all different types of Hispanics. So it's common for an ignorant person, meaning a person that doesn't have any knowledge of, therefore you are considered ignorant until you are educated. They could say, oh, this is a Mexican. But you can't be a Mexican if you're not from Mexico, you know. But you can be of Hispanic descent, you know. So, or a Mexican American, you know, and so forth and so forth. So sometimes when you talk about African, people don't necessarily see the value. But if you were to say the same exact thing, but use a different example, like in my case, what I said, Hispanic culture, then you will have a better understanding of, you know, what we're saying. So it is so true. You cannot call a Salvadorian a Mexican because they're not. But you can say they are of Hispanic descent, you know, because that's what it is. Also, for my Pan-Africans out there that are also watching, that are listening to this and saying, hey, it really doesn't matter where you're from in Africa. Bottom line is you look African. So if you claim to be African, that's all that matters. That's true. That's true. I totally agree with you. But the issue here is we need to keep in mind that on the ground, the reality is we have ignorance running through our veins, where an African like myself will question her for saying she's an African. So once she says she's an African, my next question is which village, which neighborhood, you know, those type of ignorance, when you're clearly looking at someone that all of these features don't come from anywhere but Africa. So yes, I understand where your concern may be when you hear that, but you also need to keep in mind that bottom line is on the ground, we have a lot of ignorance going on. So when she says African, where? Which part? That's what's going on the ground. So if you have an issue with that, you need to be able to fix the problem, which is us as Africans from the continent not necessarily allowing our brothers and sisters outside to just be themselves as Africans. So that's a whole other topic to discuss if you have an issue with her saying that. But besides that, I really totally agree with you. Yeah, totally. Thank you so much for that opinion. You're welcome. I would never get offended if I was to say that I am an African American, because of course I'm proud from where I come from. Just like with you being an African, you're proud for where you come from. But if I was to try to claim something that I'm not, which is being an African, I could never do that because I wouldn't know where to begin. Like, what tribe? What's the best tribe in Africa? That's where I'm from. The one with the nicest things. That's where I'm from. It's no way possible.
No, thank you so much. And please, guys, let us know in the comment section what you feel about this video. Please check her out on her Instagram, her Facebook page. Do the same with mine. All the details will be in the description box. And please, let's get this conversation rolling. Thank you so much again. Bye, Ben and y'all.
Thank you.